So today I'm going to be talking about and going over cognitive disabilities, intellectual disability, as well as the behavioral genetic dimension to this. So in the past, behavioral genetics in relation to cognitive ability and measurements of intellect has been rife with inconsistent racist pseudoscience, which overpresumes the role of genetics in life outcomes and intelligence, while downplaying the socioeconomic factors and their influence over such facets. While specific cognitive abilities and measures of intelligence are significantly influenced by such socioeconomic factors, current research reveals that our DNA also helps to create who we are as individuals. So, genetics do play a significant role over um, some degree of intellect. So, a little about general cognitive disability and specific cognitive disabilities. In conditions such as Klinefelter, triple X syndrome, or Down syndrome, we see that the human genome has been found to have a significant influence over cognitive ability. And in those such as phenylketonuria or Fragile X syndrome, this association with cognitive or intellectual disability becomes linked to alleles which may be passed from parent to offspring. So it is genetic. Beyond general cognitive disability, which may or may not have a genetic or particularly inherited origin, there also exist specific cognitive disabilities, including reading disability, communication disorder, and mathematics disability. And these specific disorders and disabilities will be the focus of the rest of the video. And so the expanding horizon of genetic research in psychology may help us understand the diverse nature of these states. So, delving into the specifics a little bit, the relative risk for genetic siblings and parents of those with mild intellectual disability has been found to be higher than those with moderate, severe, profound intellectual disability. Siblings of those with mild intellectual disability have also been recorded as having IQ scores which are below average in comparison to siblings of those with severe intellectual disability whose recorded IQs conglomerated more so around the average. Pathogenic variants associated with severe intellectual disability have also been found to have mostly de novo, and that is more individual mutation origin, which may potentially indicate, of course, that the genetic factor which influences both general intellectual disability and mild specific cognitive disabilities may be differentiated and perceivable through quantitative genetic analysis. And so we're going to jump into some of that right here. So, are there links between intellectual disability and specific cognitive disabilities? Well, numerous studies have found links between intellectual disability and reading disability, and also between intellectual disability and mathematical ability. And so, what this perhaps may mean, this isn't 100% certain. We're not making any assumptions here. This is just the research which may show some links between them. And what I mean by that is that the same genes which are correlated with reading and mathematical disability are also correlated with G, that is general cognitive ability, and communication disorders. Population samples of 8,000 twins revealed that amongst the lowest scoring 15% of twins, a mean genetic correlation between the four kinds of aforementioned areas was found to be 0.67. In other words, the same genetic variance which is correlated with an individual having reading disabilities is also correlated with mathematical and communicative disabilities. And so some methods of analyzing the heritability include what are going to be called DF analysis. So in order to analyze the probands in twin studies, which may either score in the upper or lower distributions of the population, De Vries-Volcker, that is DF analysis, is used to measure the similarity between these twin pair scores and their relation to the total population's mean. And this gives us a glimpse into how much of the variation of individuals' performance on tests of reading, mathematical, verbal, and general cognitive abilities may be considered heritable, as opposed to these individual de novo genetic mutations which result in moderate or severe intellectual disability. And so this brings into question a theory that some researchers have delved a little bit into, which is part of the origin of the DF population analysis actually. And what they asked is mild disability part of a normal distribution? So put into action, Covis in 2007 used DeFries-Volcker extremes analysis to estimate the group heritability and environmental influences for children one standard deviation below the average score, that is the lowest score in 15%, on English, mathematics, science, and G scores in the twins, using the twins' early development study, which was a large cohort of thousands of twins from the UK. And what Kovas found was that the degree of genetic influence was even more so for those in the lowest 15%, with a group heritability of 76% with shared and non-shared environment, accounting for 0.06 and 0.18 respectively. The heritability of the entire population, regardless of low or high scores, was 0.63. And so this is just one study. This isn't an absolute fact that's never going to change, but from the results of this study, we do see even in the normal scoring, average scoring, and higher scoring portion of the population that the heritability of the scores of G, mathematics, science, and English are pretty heritable. So that's that. But going off of this about mild disability being possibly just being a part of a normal distribution of all of these different cognitive facets, we ask ourselves, is disorder really the right word for this? And so the results of these DF extremes analysis have been theorized to indicate that what we refer to as reading, mathematical, and communicative disorders are actually just the lower left ends of traits influenced, but not determined, important difference there genetically. And so this concept of vast numbers of small genes all working together to impact a trait, to have a trait distribution that is normal across the whole of the population, has been explored for over a century. I mean, this is pretty foundational behavioral genetics right here. Now, uh, taking all of this into consideration, we don't want to pathologize having a lower scoring IQ score, of course, and this is where the socioeconomic, the social and environmental factors come into play. So when examining behavioral, genetic, and psychological data, we have to be on guard against problematic subtleties which may align with past eugenic ideals. And what the data finds is patterns in statistics, but not worth, meaning or hierarchy. And so none of this data engages in any meaning definitions or hierarchical definitions. And inequality cannot be made natural or proven scientifically, and all undertakings having to do with intellectual disability, cognitive disability, and group inheritance must come with the relevant histories of oppression and discrimination. Thank you.